So this is actually my first time talking about The Last Kingdom on this channel, and it will not be my last. What is up, Netflix fans? Welcome back to my channel. So over the last few months, I've been catching up on The Last Kingdom. I had so many comments saying, Austin, this is one of the most underrated shows on Netflix. So because of you all, I've caught up, and I finally got the chance to sit down yesterday and watch Season 4 of this magnificent show. I cannot wait to talk about it. I need you in the comments down below. Are you a fan of this show? If you are, spread the word. Tell everyone you know to watch it, because I need as much as I can get. So in Season 4 of The Last Kingdom, Uhtred decides to return to Bebbanburg, the land that is his birthright, after hearing it has been weakened by persistent attacks from the Scots. But when things don't go to plan, he finds himself drawn back into a bloody conflict between the Saxons and Danes as the fate of England hangs in the balance. And yes, I've heard plenty of people online say, well, it didn't necessarily need a Season 4. Season 3 wrapped up certain storylines very well, but hey, you also have plenty of subplots that were left off and needed something more to it. Now in Season 4, we get new characters. We get characters that we are familiar with, but they go down new paths. And plenty of epic moments that I don't think fans will forget in Season 4, as every season has so far, packs a punch in so many different respects, from the emotion to Uhtred's journey. I mean, we've been following him for 3 seasons now, so we know who he is as a character, but his arc continues to develop, and this time, we pluck this devout Christian, a boy who is all about faith, and throw him into this band of warrior strangers. This is Uhtred's son. What's his name, you ask? Well, take a guess. I love how this show is so simplified when it comes to remembering characters' names. Some of them are a bit difficult to pronounce, but I was so excited to see Uhtred's son, a devout Christian who is losing his roots, and throwing him into this madness. And one thing that The Last Kingdom has been doing well for so many seasons is the fact that it handles identity, faith. And now you have this kid with the same name as our title character, and the process that we saw in Uhtred at the beginning in Season 1 is kind of the process that we're seeing begin to develop with his son, accepting the fact that he is where he belongs, and learning from the madness that surrounds him. And I love that. It was an element that I slightly expected when we saw him introduced, but an element that was welcomed nonetheless. And for fans that will say, well, you know, Season 4, I don't know if it's something that... No. His presence is warranted. That case is made very clearly in Episode 1. And I love how he kind of steps into that role. You know, Uhtred and the King of Wessex were 2 men that were constantly divided by their faith, and they were always on the opposite side. And now you have young Uhtred kind of stepping into that role. And Bioka, the perfect character to do this, kind of bridges the gap between them. He's kind of the middleman because both of them start out, well, we'll say his son starts out very hesitant to do what his father says, just because he doesn't believe in what a lot of people believe his father stands for, and that's violence, that's war, that's everything against his Christian faith that he was raised to believe. But little does he know that his father is doing this for the right reasons. We also get reintroduced to the character of Alfred, who is one of my favorite characters in the show. The most evil uncle someone could have. But I love the fact that he's just constantly conniving, and he's the guy that you love to hate. So the characters in this show are much more complex than I anticipated. And when I first started watching, I'm like, okay, I know now that this isn't going to be a Game of Thrones. I know now that this probably isn't going to measure up to what some say Vikings is. I haven't had the chance to watch Vikings, but I've heard nothing but good things about it. But from what I have seen over the last 4 seasons, watching this show over the past few months, which I thought would be difficult to do, right? Because my goal was to catch up to get this review out for you guys, but it wasn't. I've had such a great time catching up on The Last Kingdom and every single season on television, but you're not here for that. You're here to know if Season 4 is worth watching. And just from what I've said so far, that's interesting enough, but all of that takes place in Episode 1. Where this season goes, the tone that it sticks to, and the fact that The Last Kingdom is now kind of going into this new era. Uhtred finally decides to return to Bebbanburg, but obviously, and this isn't a major spoiler, but everything over those first 3 episodes are all building up and leading up to the 4th episode, the battle that takes place over the span of about 10 minutes. And 10 minutes doesn't seem like a long time, but I was so invested. Honestly, this battle is everything I wanted from certain things that took place in the final seasons of Game of Thrones. This battle is one of the most impressively choreographed, tension-building battles I have seen in quite some time. This is incredible. It feels like this climactic achievement and everything that spawns from what happens in Episode 4, the consequences of pretty much every moment, I mean, they are abundant in the rest of the season. And while I'll say the rest of the season didn't quite live up to the build-up to Episode 4 of this season and what happened within that episode, I won't say this for the entire show, but it almost feels like certain plot lines, plot threads are unsure as to where they want to go next. Obviously, not for all of them, because a few of these subplots work so well for me, and I cannot wait to see what happens in Season 5. But there were a couple of things that were missing from the latter half of Season 4. Did they impede on my enjoyment of this season as a whole? Absolutely not. Did it become a disappointment at the end of the day? No, I still thought this season was great. I think this show is fantastic. But once you get something like what you get in Episode 4, everything else is just not as good. Actually, you know what? I will say I was happy with the finale of this season. Things do slow down a bit after Episode 4, but once we get to that ultimate episode, I was pretty happy with where we left off, and I was happy with where the journey of Uhtred was leading us. One, like I said before, the relationship between he and his son was fantastic, but Alexander Draymond, I mean, this guy deserves more work in the movie industry. Obviously, he's more of a presence on television. And when I first started watching this show, I'm like, I don't know, his accent, just the way that he pronounces certain words, and I think that's become almost an iconic element of his character at this point going to go. But not 3 episodes into the first season, I'm sitting back going, he is perfect for this role. And he's the guy. You know, in my opinion, from watching all 4 seasons, he's almost this iconic character at this point. And I put him above so many characters in a show like Game of Thrones, a show that I love, but I feel so strongly about his presence every time he's on screen. He's so sure of himself. He's so confident. He knows that he deserves what he has always believed he deserves, and I love that. I love the confidence showcased. His performance in Season 4 continues to thrive, continues to flourish. I can't say it's the best he's ever been, just because that's really difficult to judge, but he's just as good now as he's ever been. You have King Edward, who is trying to live up to his father's legacy, but he has to face his own ego. You have Lady Aelswith, who no longer has the influence that she used to have over the palace, and that's something that she has to confront. So it's an inner struggle with multiple characters that we go back and forth to, and sometimes, you know, I wanted to kind of stray back in a different direction. I'm like, I don't care as much about this subplot as I do the other, but it's nice to get a different perspective on different characters, and that's something I liked about Season 4 is there were so many things happening, and that can sound like a negative, but I enjoyed pretty much everything we were getting. Finn Elliott is incredible as young Uhtred. I thought he fit the role perfectly, and his role kind of warranted Season 4 and ushers in almost a new era for this show. Like I said earlier, I thought Season 3 had some finality to it, but Season 4 has plenty of shocking moments, some incredible fight scenes, some epic action, and while it doesn't maybe feel as urgent as the previous 3 seasons, because we're introducing so many new characters and there are so many things happening at once, I still think it's just as important, just as integral to this overall story. Now, if you're asking, Austin, do you know of or have you read the prior source material? Obviously, the origins of the Last Kingdom, no, so I don't hold anything close to my chest. I've seen some complaints online from those who love the original story compared to the show. That's not necessarily something that I can judge. All I can say is The Last Kingdom Season 4 was great, as is the rest of the show. I'm so happy. Thank you all so much for encouraging me to watch this. I need you in the comments down below. Did you enjoy Season 4? And if you're talking spoilers, be sure to leave a spoiler tag and hit that thumbs up button if you'd like to see me talk more about The Last Kingdom, because trust me, I would love to. As for my score, I'm probably going to go an 84% for The Last Kingdom Season 4. It's not my favorite season for sure, but there are definitely some elements in there that make me so excited for the future. And that battle in Episode 4, and really the finale, I thought was fantastic as well. So many great things about this show. I can't wait for you guys to get in that comment section. All right, another Netflix review coming soon. I'll see you later.